Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name's Grace. It is lovely to have you here. Today I'm going to be putting together my own little TBR prompt jar, which is quite a strange thing for me to be doing because I don't really use TBRs. I am a huge mood reader. I find TBRs way too constraining and I always end up just going for something that I'm more in the mood for in the moment. So although I really enjoy watching videos of other people making these jars and then using them to pick out their monthly TBR, I don't think that would work for me at all. However, my physical TBR is out of control. One of the things that I don't love about online bookish spaces is how popular overconsumption is and the way that that's advertised by giant book hauls and just everyone having hundreds of books on their TBR. I think that there are a lot more sustainable ways to do it, and also not everyone can afford that, so it can make people feel left out sometimes. However, that's very hypocritical of me to say right now because I personally have about 250 books on my physical TBR last I checked, which is way too many. I work at a bookstore, so I get a pretty decent discount and I really struggle because of that to not just buy every book that comes in that I think looks interesting. And it's something I really want to work on. I want to buy far fewer books this year and I want to get into the habit of A, reading all of the books that I already own, and B, going to the library more, making use of those services so that I can read a book, decide if I like it, and then if I really loved it, maybe I'll buy myself a copy. But for now, I really want to get through a good chunk of my TBR this year. So I thought that when I'm at a loose end for what to read next, I would make myself a little jar of prompts that I could pick from, and they're all going to be prompts that push me towards an area of my TBR that I maybe shy away from sometimes. And hopefully the fun of picking that book at random will balance out with whatever was making me a bit reluctant to get to that book. So I'm gonna write out some prompts and tell you what they all are, and then I'll probably pick out a book to start off with. I'm going away for a few days next week to the countryside, so I really want to pick out a book that I can take with me and knock off that TBR. Also, I don't have like a jar. What I have is this little mushroom pot, which is very on brand. So this is what I'm gonna put them in. So I'm gonna write those out and then we'll talk. It is done. It's so cute. Full disclosure, my mum actually got me this little pot for my birthday, and when she got it for me, it had a plant in. That plant is dead. So I'm gonna tell you all of the prompts that I put in there. I wrote them all down in my little notebook beforehand. But like I said, they're all prompts to try to get me to read something that is either a bit out of my comfort zone or for some reason I've been putting it off. So first up we have just some general genre ones. I am a big fantasy reader and that's what I tend to go for, so I have kind of most other genres that are on my TBR in here. So a non-fiction book, I would love to read more non-fiction. A children's book, which I actually do adore kids' books when I read them. I just don't do it that often for some reason. A classic. I don't read that many classics, I'd like to read more. A contemporary fiction, which I really don't read that often, largely because I feel like a lot of them are quite depressing. I don't remember the last time I read a contemporary fiction that had like a proper happy ending. A sci-fi book, I have barely read any sci-fi and I would really like to extend into that genre because there's definitely a lot of overlap with the things that I love about fantasy in sci-fi. So I want to dip my toes in. But moving on from genres, we have a gifted or borrowed book. I have too many books on my shelves that have either been given to me or have been borrowed and I haven't gotten to yet, even though they come with a recommendation from someone that I really respect. So getting to some of those would definitely be good. The next book in a series that I've already started, I am awful for starting series and then not finishing them. But then conversely, the first book in a series, because I've also been putting off starting new series because I know that I have lots of old series that I need to work through and I have lots of the beginnings of series on my shelves as well. So both ends of the problem need to be solved. An unseasonable book. This is a fun one because I have a big habit of saving books for the right season. So like a spooky book for Halloween season, a book that's set in a cold place for winter, or the opposite with summer, of course. And I often kind of skip past books because I think, oh, I have to wait for that season to come around, and then I don't read them all in that season. So I just need to suck it up and read them out of season sometimes. An intimidating book. This is quite a vague one because it's such a scary one, I guess. I have given myself wiggle room, but there are definitely books on my shelves that I know I am intimidated by, be it that they sound quite complicated and like they're gonna take a lot of brain power, or they have a big reputation. I'm gonna let myself run with this one. A book that I've heard bad reviews of. Now, this puts me off for obvious reasons, but at the same time, a lot of my favourite books I've heard bad reviews of from even booktubers that I love. So I have to remember, reading is very subjective, and just because someone else reviewed something badly doesn't mean I won't like it. A book that I got for its cover. I'm very guilty of doing this, especially when we have a lot of beautiful editions come into store. I am a sucker for a pretty cover, so there are definitely some books on my shelves that I got mostly for the cover at least. I was probably at least a little bit interested in the book, but the cover was what swayed me, and that's why it's kind of just sat on my shelf unread, looking pretty. A 5-star prediction. This is counterintuitive, I know, but I definitely think I put off books that I think I'm going to really, really love. Either because I'm scared that they won't follow through on that, or because I'm saving them for a time that I think I might really need that boost. But then they just don't get read, and there are books sitting on my shelves that could be 5-star reads for me, they could be new favourites, and I'm just not reading them, so it's silly. A book that's over 500 pages, for obvious reasons, is scary. I think I've only read a few books that are that long, but there are definitely some I want to get to. A book that I haven't heard anything about, which I actually love. I've said before I really love going into books blind with no expectations, but at the same time it is a little bit scary if you haven't heard anything about a book. It could really go either way. You could be really surprised and find a hidden gem, or you could end up thinking, yeah, there's a reason why no one's heard of this. But on the other end of the spectrum, a very hyped book, which often also puts me off because I'm scared that my perception of the book will be skewed by the hype that I've heard surrounding it, and that I won't think it lives up to those expectations. But again, I'll never know until I try. A book that I've owned for 2+ years. There are too many of those, and it is about damn time. A franchise book. This is an interesting one. This is a book that's written to go alongside a franchise. For example, my partner's read most of the Star Wars High Republic books, or a good chunk of them at least. I have some books that go along with the Avatar The Last Airbender series. I've read the Kyoshi books and I love them, but I haven't read the Yang Chen books yet. And there are a few others on this list. So something that goes alongside usually a show or a film series. But again, I usually got them because I love the show or the film series, and I'm always a little bit worried that it won't live up to that for me. A book that I know has a sad ending. I mean, I'm a happy ending girly. I don't like to be miserable when I read, but at the same time, if a book's making you feel something, then that's a skill. That's something to be appreciated. So I have to face my fear. The lowest rated book I own on Goodreads. So I'll go into my TBR on Goodreads and see which of the books that I actually own on there has the lowest rating on Goodreads. Because again, I might disagree, who knows? And then 2 more, a recent anticipated release. So a book that's come out recently that I pre-ordered or I got as soon as it came out and I was really excited for, because I often put those off. Again, who knows? I guess I think that I need to save them, I need to read books on my backlist, but then they end up becoming books on my backlist, so it's an endless cycle. And I'm also a little bit worried that they won't live up to those expectations, again, which is a theme for a lot of these. But on the other hand, an anticipated release ... last year. So a book that came out last year that I was really excited for and got as soon as it came out, but months later I still haven't gotten to. And those are all of the prompts that I put in there for now. Maybe I'll add some more at some point, but right now I'm gonna pick one out to take away with me to the countryside and read. So let's do that. Okay, here goes. I'm going right to the bottom. Is that one? Yeah, okay. I'm nervous. Okay. Ooh, cool. A gifted or a borrowed book. Okay, great, let's do that. Okay, I have some ideas. Okay, so I have a couple of options. First up I have The Weirdstone of Brisingamen by Garner, and my uncle gave this one to me. He recommended this one. This is, I think it's kind of a modern classic within kids fantasy. As far as I can tell, this is kind of borderline between middle grade or 9 to 12 and teen. We shelve it in teen at work, so I'm gonna go with that. I don't know much about this one, but I think it's kind of folklore inspired. There is a wizard in here, and apparently he watches over the sleep of 140 knights, and these 2 kids get wrapped up in the hunt for a magical artifact that might bring them back. I'm not sure. I'm intrigued because often those kind of classic kids books or modern classic kids books tend to be my favourite because of the way that they're told. It often feels quite lyrical or fairy tale like, and I really enjoy that. So I have a feeling I will really like this one, and thank you to my uncle for this one. But another one I have is The Illumination of Ursula Flight by Anna-Marie Crowhurst. This one my boyfriend's sister lent to me. So Laura, if you're watching this, I'm sorry that I haven't given this back yet. This is set in, I think, the late 1600s. I just checked, and the main character is born in 1664, so I'm assuming late 1600s. But it's about Ursula, who wants to be a playwright but is being pushed into marriage because that's all women did back then. But it's a story about theatre and coming of age and following your own desires. Laura said that it is very beautifully written and thought that I would enjoy it. I really do enjoy like a good period drama or something that takes that time in history and explores a woman's place in that and maybe them defying expectations. So I have a feeling I'm gonna really enjoy this one too, but I'm also a little bit scared of it, I think, because sometimes the writing in that style of book can be a little bit dense, but maybe this is the opportunity to push through that. So these, I think, are my 2 best options. But I think because this one has been lent to me rather than gifted, I should probably get to this one first so that I can actually give it back when I'm done. So that is The Illumination of Ursula Flight by Anna-Marie Crowhurst, and I will definitely let you know what I think of this one. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this silly little video. Let me know if you have a TBR jar of your own or any other process you use to pick out the books that you're going to read. I'm really interested if you guys have any fun prompts you think I could add into here. That would be really cool. I'm gonna pop him up here for now, and hopefully he can help me get through some of my backlist this year. But thank you for watching. It is lovely to have you here as always, and I will see you in another video soon. Bye bye.